Hello friends, today we are going to learn more about multi-threading. We will implement certain multi-threading related things in Java in Eclipse and see how it works. Okay, so here's the agenda for today's meeting. As we already know, we'll know more about concurrency multi-threading. It's almost like a one-on-one for multi-threading, nothing in detail, great detail, but certain things. So we'll create a Java project. We will learn about two different ways in which we can implement a thread in Java. So those two different ways are by extending thread class or by implementing Runnable interface. I'll let you in more details once we actually proceed with our project. And then we'll also look in the difference between the two ways and probably which way is better than the other one. We will then look at the sequence of thread execution one by one. So let's start by creating a new Java project first of all. Okay, so it's very simple. You right click and you have a new Java project. Let's name it sample concurrency project. All right, great. We already have a Java project now. Okay, so also let's create a new package over here. So create a new package which is com.prayag. That's my name, so I need to include that. Concurrency. Yeah, that's pretty much. So now let's look into two different ways. There are two different ways of creating a thread in Java. One is by extending the thread class. As simple as that. You just create a subclass of the thread class, so it has all the functionalities of a thread class, and so it will create a thread. Or else you can implement a runnable interface. Basically the thread class also implements the runnable interface, and it's the run method in the runnable interface that does all the work. So we can implement the runnable interface and we can pretty much do the same thing. So let's start by, let's say, creating a class which extends the thread class, and then we will create a class which will implement the runnable interface, and so on. So let's create a class which is a sample thread class, sample thread, let's just say. So it's a sample thread. This sample thread guy will extend thread. Oops. Extends thread class, and now this will also override the run method public void run. So override the run method. Let's say I'll just put system.out.println. Very simple. I'll just put this. Say we can say inside sample thread. Okay, and that's pretty much, we created a thread. We created a thread class. Now let us also create a main class in which we will instantiate the thread class, and we'll create a thread and we'll let it run. So let's do that. So let's create a main class which will have main concurrency region. I like the word region, so I just do that. Now we create a public static void main string arguments, and we're done with the main method. And now what we will do is we will create this sample thread, right? Sample thread, this is a sample thread. We'll also create an instance of the sample thread is equal to new sample thread. And now what we will do is we'll just let the sample thread run. Sample thread dot start. Now there would be magic when we run it inside sample thread. Wow, the thread ran and printed whatever we wrote here. We wrote inside sample thread over here, and when we ran it, it's inside it got executed and it just closed. So perfect. Now do you think there's only one thread running right now, or there are other threads running over here too, because let's say this thread, we invoke this thread, but there was some other thread which was invoking this thread, right? So that's the main thread. So there are actually two threads running over here, right? One is the main thread and other is a thread which we just started. So how will we actually be able to identify if the main thread is running or not? So for that, let's say I just include a simple system.out.println over here, and let's say we call it inside main, right? And now if we run, we have inside main and inside sample thread. So but one important thing, we invoke this thread, but inside main was printed before inside sample thread. Does that mean that the main thread will always run before the sample thread or no? Let's just run it a couple of more times and see how the order is. Inside main, inside sample, inside main, inside sample, inside main, inside sample, inside main. It's the same one. Let's just run them a couple more times, and inside sample thread and inside main, and we like, oh my god, I just expected inside main and now it's inside sample thread first. So if we create a program that is dependent on the sequence, then we might just be surprised by the outcome. So basically these threads run by themselves, and sometimes that thread, the sequence of execution basically is not guaranteed over here. Sometimes sample thread might run before the main thread, and sometimes main thread, this system.out.main thread would run before the sample thread system.out. So it's always like that. Got it? Okay, cool. So we created by sample thread, by extending thread. Now let's also create by implementing Runnable. Okay, so what is the advantage of implementing Runnable over extending thread? This works perfectly fine. Why do we want to do something else? So the reason behind that is you extend this thread and now you cannot extend any other class. Java does not allow multiple inheritance, and hence this is done. We're done with by extending a thread. But the other Runnable interface, even the thread class implements Runnable interface. So if we directly implement the Runnable interface and create an instance of a thread, then the advantage would be that we can, our sample thread or sample Runnable class might be able to extend some other class, so it will be open for inheritance for some other class. It won't be just booked by this thread class. Okay, so let's see the example of that. We create a new class over here in the same package, and let's call this as sample Runnable. Alright, so we create a new sample Runnable. Now what that does is this will implements Runnable interface, and now it already gives an error that the run method hasn't been implemented, so we need to implement the run method over here. I'll just add, normally we never ever implement any run method by just doing system.out.println. This is not the right way, but this is just an example, so we're doing it this way. So let's say this is inside sample Runnable, inside sample Runnable. Sounds good? Okay, so now let us instantiate that. That would be thread is equal to new thread new sample Runnable. Right, this is how we instantiate this, because this has a Runnable interface in it, so it will be accepted as an argument in the thread constructor. So now thread dot start. Alright, so let's run them. Inside main, inside sample thread, and inside sample Runnable. And if we run, now it is inside sample thread, inside main, inside sample Runnable. You see all the outputs are haphazard. The I mean, there's no guarantee of any sequence, but this is how multi-threading is. Please follow me at Prayag Pathak on Twitter, follow me on LinkedIn, whatever. This is my Twitter title, which is Prayag Pathak. Please follow me on that, and please shoot me with any questions on my email address, which is prayagpathak@gmail.com. All right, thank you.